There is a man in a hospital bed in 1987. His name is Eugene Pauly, 54 years old. A virus is eating his brain, specifically destroying a small region deep in his skull called the basal ganglia. Eugene survives, but something strange happens after he recovered. He cannot tell you what he had for breakfast, cannot tell you what year it is, cannot remember his neighbors' names even after meeting them 17 times. Short-term memory completely gone. But every single morning, Eugene wakes up, walks to the kitchen, makes himself scrambled eggs and toast, and eats them without being told. Without remembering he did it yesterday, Eugene has no memory. And yet, he has habit. That is the moment neuroscientists understood something terrifying and extraordinary at the same time. Your habits do not live in your mind. They live somewhere older, somewhere deeper, somewhere that does not care whether you are conscious or not. The question is not whether that system is running inside you right now. It is, every single day. The question is who programmed it.
Not subscribed to my channel yet? Please subscribe, like, share, and comment.
The setup: James Clear published Atomic Habits in 2018. 15 million copies sold, 50 languages. It sits on the desks of Olympic athletes, Fortune 500 CEOs, and college students who swear it changed their entire personality. For context, the average best-selling nonfiction book sells around 10,000 copies total in its entire lifetime. So either James Clear discovered something genuinely revolutionary about how human beings work, or the world's most successful people all bought the same self-help book and convinced themselves it worked through sheer expensive optimism. The truth sits somewhere more interesting than either of those options. Because what Atomic Habits is really selling is not productivity, not discipline, not even habit. It is a manual for hacking a neurological system that was built 40,000 years ago and was never designed for the world you are currently living in. Once you understand what the book is actually doing under the surface, you will never think about your own behavior the same way again. What your brain is actually doing. Here is something your brain is doing right now that you have absolutely no awareness of. Every single experience you have is being evaluated, constantly, relentlessly. One question only: did that feel good or bad? That is the whole algorithm. 4 billion years of biological evolution, and it basically comes down to good or bad, reward or threat, pursue or avoid. The basal ganglia, the same region Eugene Pauly lost, is the engine of this system, and it is extraordinarily efficient because efficiency is survival. Your brain burns about 20% of all the calories you consume just to keep running. So the brain is always looking for shortcuts, and habits are the ultimate shortcut. First time you do something, your brain lights up like a stadium. New stimulus, unknown outcome, full processing power engaged. The 10th time, it barely registers. The 100th time, you are doing it while thinking about something completely different, and you have no memory of the process at all. That is called chunking. Your brain compressed an entire sequence of behaviors into a single automatic routine. The neural pathway is carved, and now it runs on autopilot. Brilliant design for a creature that needed to conserve mental energy to survive a hostile environment. Absolutely catastrophic for a creature living in a world specifically engineered to exploit it. The mechanism. Clear describes what he calls the habit loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. 4-step. Every habit you have ever formed follows this exact structure, without exception. The cue is the trigger, something in your environment that signals to your brain, time to run the program. The craving is the want, not the action itself. The anticipation of the reward. The response is the behavior. The reward is the payoff. Now here is what changes everything. Dopamine, the neurochemical everyone calls the pleasure chemical, does not spike when you get the reward. It spikes in anticipation of the reward. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz discovered this in the 1990s studying monkeys. He trained them to expect a reward after a cue, and dopamine stopped spiking at the reward. It started spiking at the cue. Your brain is not reacting to what is happening. It is reacting to what it predicts is about to happen. This is why you feel your phone buzz before you look at it and you already feel the pull. This is why discipline is so brutally hard when you are relying entirely on willpower. Because willpower is fighting a machine that already fired before the fight started. The uncomfortable math Clear makes a claim in chapter 1 that became one of the most quoted lines in modern self-help. If you get 1% better every day for 1 year, you end up 37 times better by the end. Mathematically, this is correct. The arithmetic works, but the deeper truth, the one that actually matters, is this. Small changes are undetectable in the short term, and they are unstoppable in the long term. Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential. You are doing the work. You are building the habits. You are being consistent. And for weeks, sometimes months, nothing appears to be happening. Most people quit here. This is where the graveyard of abandoned gym memberships and unfinished novels lie. Not at the starting line, in the valley, where effort feels invisible and the reward has not arrived yet. The people who win are not the ones with the most motivation. Motivation is a feeling. Feelings evaporate. They are the ones who understood they were building invisible infrastructure inside their own nervous system. Infrastructure that eventually crosses a threshold and produces what looks, from the outside, like sudden dramatic change. Put an ice cube in a room at 25 degrees. Nothing happened. 26, 27, 28, still nothing. 32 degrees, it melt. Did the previous 7 degrees not matter? Of course they mattered. You just could not see the work yet. The identity shift here is the piece most people completely miss. The piece that separates those who make habits stick from those who restart the same habit every January for a decade. Most people approach habit change from the outside in. They focus on outcome. I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to write a book. Then they try to change behaviors to match those outcomes. And when the behavior slips, as it always eventually does, they feel like a failure, which their brain logs as a negative experience, which makes them less likely to try again. Clear argues that durable habit change works from the inside out. Not outcomes, not behaviors, identity. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. You are not trying to run a marathon. You are deciding you are the kind of person run. The behavior follows the identity, not the other way around. And here is where it gets uncomfortable. Most of us are already voting every day. We are just voting for the wrong person. Every time you skip the workout, you cast a vote for the person who does not exercise. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your brain updates its file on who you are, and that ruthlessly efficient machine will continue producing behavior consistent with that identity because it is optimizing for accuracy, not for your dream. Environment design. Here is the most underrated insight in the entire book. Willpower is finite. Environment is infinite. You cannot motivate yourself into discipline. You have to architect the conditions that make discipline the path of least resistance. Anne Thorndike, a physician at Massachusetts General Hospital, ran an experiment in the hospital cafeteria. She simply rearranged the layout. Put water bottles next to every register. Put soda further back. Change nothing about prices. Change nothing about options. Just change what was visible and accessible. Water sales went up 34%. Soda sales dropped. Nobody was motivated. Nobody was disciplined. They just reached for what was closest. You are doing this every single day. And the question is not whether your environment is shaping your behavior. It is. The question is whether you designed that environment or whether someone else did. Because the technology companies did, the food manufacturers did, the social media algorithms did. They have entire departments of behavioral scientists whose full-time job is to make their product the thing your hand reaches for when it gets within range. Your phone is probably within arm's reach right now. You did not design that. Someone else did. The irony here is the quiet absurdity nobody says out loud. The most disciplined people in the world are not disciplined. They have simply automated virtue. They have built systems so thoroughly embedded in their daily environment and identity that doing the right thing requires less energy than not doing it. They are not waking up every morning summoning massive reserves of willpower. They have made resistance almost irrelevant. The sustainable path is not heroic suffering. It is boring, invisible, incremental automation of the behaviors that compound into a life you are proud. James Clear is not trying to inspire you. He is trying to make the right behavior so easy, so cued, so rewarded, that your ancient brain eventually gives up resisting and just runs the program. That is not romantic. But neither is being 50 years old and wondering how you became someone you do not recognize. The close Eugene Pauly lived for years after the virus destroyed his memory. And every single morning until he died, he woke up and followed the same routine. Walked the same path, made the same breakfast. He never remembered doing it, but he did it anyway. Because the neural pathways were carved, the identity was written, the system was running. The person you are becoming right now, through these small repeated behavior, through these daily votes you are casting for or against the person you want to be, that person is being built whether you are paying attention or not. The question that Clear ultimately leaves you, the one that runs underneath every page of that book, is this. At the end of your life, when your conscious mind is gone and only your habits remain, who will those habits say you were? You are already answering that question right now, whether you meant to or not.
If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe, like, share, and comment.